and go from there. So, first of all, I just want to say that that critical thinking training that we did, last couple of sessions, I think is one of the most important sessions that we can go through in this generation. We're in a process in our country of a lot of shifts. We're going to hybrid models in the workplace. We're going to technology like what we're doing now. This used to be done live. Now everything is done virtual. Um, the dynamics of dealing with people have changed quite a bit. People are a little bit more challenged emotionally because of what took place with the pandemic. And so I'm just going to encourage everyone to go over that video more than once. Let it be something that sinks in, settles in, and work on it all the time. Now, I'm telling you this, but I'm doing it myself. I realize that for me to be effective as a leader, besides doing training and coaching and things of that nature, like I'm doing with you all, I also, lead a team of people. And so I'm looking at, how I lead and how I interact. I volunteer in my community, how I go about volunteering, because the world has changed. So in order to change along with the world that's changing, we need to be critical thinkers. And most of us have heard of critical thinking more than once, and we've had conversations with people about it. But what we fail to realize is that that it's not just a cliche. It has to be something that's embraced and worked on. So one last part about that session that I want to just revisit, because we talked about a lot, is the Dr. Benjamin Bloom's critical thinking model. I think it's really important to understand how significant that model is. That's an old model, but it works today, because he talks about the 6 highest levels of critical thinking. And it's, as we alluded to the last time, knowledge is number 6. So out of 6. So a lot of times we think that a person is full of knowledge, they're great thinkers. And in actuality, they may not be. They just may have a lot of knowledge. We can have a lot of book smart, okay? But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're critical thinkers. We live in a world today where we have some folks who, didn't go to Harvard and have created some of the most amazing things on the planet. And then some people that went to Harvard that can't figure it out. So I'm not trying to knock Harvard. I just use it as an example. It's a great school, because that person who didn't is a critical thinker, and this person who did is intelligent, but they don't know how to think critically. And so, so when you think of critical thinking, it's really, I guess the best way to describe it is it's a process of dissecting things. And what I mean by that is we're not looking at face value. We're looking at all the underlying things that most people never think about. And so a critical thinker is going to look at all that from different angles. Let me give you an example. This is emotional intelligence kind of woven into this one as well. So here's a critical thinker. So let's say we're dealing with somebody in the workplace, and we're, kind of dealing with some conflict with an individual. I'm just going to use this. There could be 20,000 examples. I'm just going to give you one. And so someone comes in and they make some statements about me or about anyone that I don't necessarily agree with. And so my response to that could be one of attack. This person said this, how dare they? And I'm about to go in on them, all right? That could be my response. Where the critical thinker would say, this is interesting, especially if the person is not stereotyped by this. So the critical thinker would say, this is interesting, and this is what the critical thinker would do. So tell me why you think, whatever you're saying, that whatever they're saying, what brought you to this conclusion? Then the person gives their response, all right? And so say again, they're talking about a person. Then you're asking them again another question, like, do you think that it was that person's intention to cause you to become this way? Like, was that their goal? Was to aggravate you? You see, what are you doing? You're probing. Does that make sense? I would ask for a head nod, but that's okay. You're probing. And yes, yeah, you're probing. And so write this down as being a critical thinker is important. All right, to be effective in critical thinking, please write this word down. You got to be curious, curiosity. And why is that important? Because when you're curious, you're taking the normal response that you would give to a situation and putting it back into the other person's hands. So now the emphasis is on them to explain to you what they're thinking in a different way. They got to explain it a little bit more. Because why? You basically have said to them, hey, tell me why you think this way. Why do you think that person meant to do this? How could we have handled this? What do you suggest? People start to figure out for themselves once you put it in that position. But as a critical thinker, what you just did was the 3 highest levels. Number 3, again, was analysis, where you're analyzing and breaking down the situation, okay? You're looking at it from different angles. Then the second part was synthesis, second highest level, if you remember. And synthesis is taking what you've analyzed and putting into a format like, okay, maybe we can talk about this, and these are probably some of the questions you're going to ask them. Talk about that. And then the judgment evaluation, which is the highest level of critical thinking, the judgment evaluation part is, okay, this is the best way I think we should consider going forward. All right. And so what I'm saying this because with your organization, it's important to have critical thinkers on staff. Because in any given day in workforce development, anything can happen, things can pop up. And so if I'm just responding instead of thinking, it could become something of emotions. And I may say this because it's important. Never, ever discard emotions. I don't think emotions should be discarded. But what I'm saying is there's situations in which we don't necessarily have to respond from a position of emotions. All right. And so so that's kind of it with the critical thinking part. And I hope that information will be helpful to you. All right. And so so let's talk about time management. Now, what I want to say about this particular course is this training is this is not designed to be this specific. It's going to give you some tools to think about, but it's not designed like some of these. It's going to look at the psychology of time management, and it's going to give you a few things that you can do to help improve in the area of time management. So we're going to kind of go in, and like I said, we're not going to be super long, but we're going to give you some good information to use. So let me pull up the screen, and if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat feature. We'll go from there. So if you can see that, say yes, no, maybe so. And as I always say, that's my good.
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So this is one of my mentors. His name is Jim Rohn. We lost Jim about 7-8 years ago. If you Google Jim Rohn, you're going to love this guy because there's a lot of videos out there on him. Tremendous, highly intellectual human being. I mean, the way he worded things kind of led me to be the person I am today in my career. And so we interacted somewhat. I wasn't with him that much, but I did get a chance to interact with him a lot. And he's one of about 3 people that's really helped shape me into Coach D, what I am today. But I love this quote, and it's so simple. but it says either run the day or the day runs you. What does that sound like when you read it? What does that quote kind of connect to? I'm sorry, I went forward. When you read that quote, what is it? Does it resonate as far as I get that quote? How many of us have ever had a situation where we look up at the end of the day and like we didn't get through 1/3 of the things we said we're going to get through? And you know, one of the reasons why that is our days are often full of distractions. Things that take us off course. You know, things that aren't really what I call high priority items that start to consume us. And so Jim's quote is powerful because what he's saying here is either run the day or the day runs you. So what that means is you need to have a plan. How am I going to do my time? One thing I'm going to talk about a little later is called time blocking. And I've shared this with you many times, and my daughter gets on me, she said, Dad, you got a pink one. I said, I don't care. It's an organizer. I said, pink or not. I said, but the Coach D day is locked up in here. Now, there's other tools I'm going to share with you, like Trello and all of that. But reality is, I like something I can just go right to. I don't like going into the computer system and trying to finagle with stuff. That's just me. Even though for some people, that's a perfect thing. Some people have apps where they're managing their time on their apps, you know, and it buzzes them and dings them when they need things. And so, you know, so it's really a powerful way to go about it. And so I love this quote by a guy named Mark Murdoch, where he says, your future success is hidden in your daily routine. That's a powerful, powerful quote right there. All right. Anyone have any thoughts on that quote? Because to me, I can literally do the rest of this session off this quote because I put up here because I love the quote. But what do you read when you see this? What does it mean to you? Anyone want to share any thoughts? I'll tell you, this is important.
For me, it's kind of hard because like it depends on how you want your daily routine to be. So like I guess it's about like trying different things.
Yeah.
You try one thing, it's not working, okay, change something else. And that's part of your future. That's part of what you want to do with your life is, okay, well, this is one way of doing it. I don't like it. Okay, let me try something else until you find your future. You find that success, you find that motivation to keep going.
Love it. Absolutely. That's it. And so I fully agree because it is about trying different things that work. Like, isn't it interesting in our lives, we have some things we're very much wired to do and other things we're not. It's always amazing to me. Like I tell people, for me, working out is easy because I've programmed myself to work out every day. Now, I'm not doing it as much because on this diet that I'm on right now, they want us to conserve energy. So I can't go in like I normally do with my workouts, but I am still working out a half an hour a day. And I may take about a 2-mile walk, depending on the day. But this quote is basically saying that everything we do in the future is built on what we do today. And the more we do it, the more we're gonna have a secure future. Like for instance, think financial management. You know, people always say, put into your 401k and save your money. And so things like that. And so what happens is like, what it's saying is if you start at 21 and save your money, by the time you're 45, 50, you could retire probably because the money is compounded, the interest, you know, you got all these different things going on and you got enough money where you don't have to work anymore. And so that's your future success is hidden in your daily routine. Every time I get that check, that money's going out. It's consistent. I live on a budget, consistent. And then over time, guess what? Now I have the freedom to do what I want to do because I've saved. Now, most people have not done extremely well with that. Some of my grandmother just passed. She's 97. She was the best I've ever seen. This woman wouldn't spend money on anything. She was a little bit too rigid with her. She's just saved every penny she can get her hands on. But I get why, because she was born during the Great Depression. And so back then they didn't have anything. And then unfortunately, poor African Americans in St. Louis didn't have anything beyond the Depression. And so, so when she would get money, she would save it. And then she went on and landed a decent job with the Veterans Administration. She saved all of that. She took a part-time job. Back in the days, they had this thing called Avon. Some of y'all may not know what Avon is, but Avon was a popular product for a long, long time. She sold Avon. She was the top Avon sales per people in the Northeast. And she saved all that. So my mother's grandmother saved. She lived to 97 and she never depended on anybody for anything, because she had done such a good job in her younger years and formidable years saving, that, you know, that when it got to that point, when she got older and couldn't work anymore, it just, you know, it was easy for her. So your future success is hidden in your daily routine.
So I'm going to counter it by saying, how then do you work with people that are time blind, that have trouble setting longer term goals, that are more in the moment? Because Coach, I'm challenging that because, forgive me, you make it sound so easy, but I am living proof that it is not. And
Yeah.
like, I'm actually a little offended at the blanket statement.
Yeah. 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 No, I get
So,
it. That's okay. That's okay.
no, and so, and I'm saying that because, and Lucia, you already know this about me. I have attention deficit disorder. What you're talking about is impossible for me.
Got it.
I am lucky if I can take $2 out of my purse and put it aside and save it. And I'm not using that as an excuse. It's simply time doesn't mean much to me.
Got it.
Long-term goals are incredibly difficult to make. And so what I do is, and people like me, it's like you almost have to, you do live in the moment because that's controllable.
Yep.
But a year out doesn't mean anything to me.
Doesn't mean much to you. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, how do you work with people where, yeah, this sounds great, but how do you teach them the small steps?
Yep. Let me say this. When you start talking about things like, let me clarify something too, just for a point of clarification. Whenever you're teaching a subject, you teach the subject based upon what you call absolutes. So this is an absolute statement that's true. It's not an incorrect. It's not like a lie. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm sitting here. It's not telling a lie. So this is an absolute. This is the truth for me, for you, for anybody on the planet. It's an absolute. So training is typically around absolutes. When you go into details like different disorders that people have, that's more clinical and therapeutic. It's more, okay, if I'm dealing with a specific challenge like ADD, which a lot of people do, I have a child that's dealing with it as well, you know, that's more, okay, I'm gonna need someone to specifically work with me on a daily or weekly basis to help me be able to bring some accountability to my actions. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Yeah. And let me give you an example. Before you came on, I was telling Lucia, I'm on a new diet right now. And it's designed for my health because I mentioned I had blood clot in my leg and because of COVID, and I'm still dealing with that. And I said, okay, these doctors just keep pumping meds into me. That's all. Take this med, take this med. I'm tired of meds. I'm just tired of them. And so I said, okay, let me try an all-natural approach. So for the next 30 days, I'm on a detox and I have two people that are like, calling like my children almost, because I've been mentoring them 20 something years, that are now nutrition experts. So guess what we do, Tracy? We talk every day. They're looking at what I'm eating. I have to literally text them take a picture of what I'm eating and send it to them 3 times a day, you know? And so it's been 10 days and I'm staying on course. And the reason why is there's someone there assisting me. And why, and I need that assistance because I'm not naturally wired to eat like this. You know, if I want to go to Chick-fil-A, I'm going to get me a Chick-fil-A. I'm going to get that sandwich. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get those French fries and I'm going to get sweet tea because that's my favorite Chick-fil-A meal. All right. And I'll get it as much as I want to because that's what I like. So to answer your question, it's not that this everyone can do this. This is an absolute. Some of us need assistance in dealing with those inner things like ADD, or in my case, diet, to help stay the course. I hope that makes a little bit of sense.
No, it does. It
Yeah,
does.
yeah, okay. All right. And please listen, to me, any response is a response. So thank you for sharing that, because I don't ever want to train and just like skip over pieces that most folks would skip over. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, because there may be other people out there that's asking the same question that may look at this video. So I appreciate that. But I would say with ADD, you always want to, like my child got therapy and support, you know, even when he was on his college campus, he got it, you know, and it helped him graduate from college. It really did. So I hope that answered to some extent your question. So we want to talk about the psychology of time management, how to analyze you as an individual, as an individual embrace time management principles, discuss barriers to time management, and analyze personal plans of action to better time management. Another thing, Tracy, I want to share with you too is this. People like me, I don't necessarily have ADD, but you know what I'm terrible at? I call it the squirrel. I call it the squirrel brain. You have an idea what a squirrel brain is? A squirrel brain? Any thought on what anybody, Lucia? Anybody think that you know what that is? What a squirrel brain is?
Small attention span.
Say it again.
A small attention span.
Squirrels have the shortest attention spans in the world.
Yeah.
They can hop from one thing to the next just like that. So give me an example. So I'm working on a major project. I'm just using a hypothetical. My phone starts to buzz. I look up and it's a family member. Chances are it's not going to be that serious of a conversation, right? They're probably calling to ask for something or ask for money, you know, my family. You know, that's always happening. So I have a choice. In that moment, I can choose to stay focused on my project that I've already allocated time for, because I use an organizer. That's what I'm saying, Tracy, organizers help too, because it gives you a pattern. Journaling help, because journaling gives you a pattern of looking at how we do things. So anything you can write down helps too, right? So I in my organizer, you know, I can say from, you know, 10 to whatever time we're doing this training, or, you know, I'm from 11:30 to 2:30, I'm focusing on this project. Okay, so what I should be doing from 11:30 to 2:30 is focus on that project and don't let anything distract me. Nothing. But then the phone rings. Then I got on the phone with my cousin. And then guess what? We're talking for the next 25 minutes, the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes about something that has nothing to do with this project that I'm working on, nor is it going to be productive for my day. That's what I mean by squirrel brain. So what I do is, my phone right here, I turn it over. I don't even look at it. So if anybody's calling, it's on mute. I don't even know, because I know my brain will be wired to look at that. So what do? At the end of that 2-hour segment, I'll turn it over, because I've completed my task. All right. I got a thing where I won't answer emails. I just won't answer them. I don't care who it's coming from. I don't care if I have an hour and a half on my schedule. Unless the world is about to blow up, I'm staying focused, because I know this old squirrel brain of mine. Once I dive in, that's it. Project over, time over, whatever I was looking to complete, finished. And then another thing too is the way you interact with people, because sometimes it's tough, because you are in situations where, you know, they want to be flexible in your responsibilities and assignments. And I understand in the workplace, it could, you know, all the workplaces are different. Some are like more rigid as far as this is your work. And others might say, okay, we need to shift gears and go over here and do this other thing. So I don't know the dynamics of it, but one thing I've learned to do as well is to ask for permission for things. Say, hey, listen, I have a really tight deadline, and I really want to stay focused on this for now. Is that something that's needed now, or can we do it maybe later in the week or on another day? So what you're asking for is permission to stay focused. Hopefully that makes sense, you know. And if people get offended by that, then they don't understand time management very well. you know. And so so we want to look at some of this and you know, so optimizing your productivity and time is really important. I like what my mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe says time is currency. Whatever you spend your time on, that is what you bought. You know, that's it. And it's just a simple statement that, you know, that's spot on point. I do want to say something to you. You may notice on this slide, it has perfect timing. That's my consultant that normally trains on this subject, but she wasn't available today. So I said, I know how to train on it. I'll just go ahead and train on it. So usually Rachel's training on this, you know, so there it is, the squirrel. I don't have a short attention span. Oh, look, a squirrel. And I think a lot of us end up in that category for some reason. Busy doesn't equal productive. Please write that down. I think sometimes we think just being busy, you know, we get to the end of our day and we say, oh, what a busy day I had, you know. And really, it was busy, but it wasn't productive. You know, what do you think the difference between the two are? You could be busy and productive too, but I'm just curious, what do you think the difference between the two are? Any thoughts on that? What do you think? Busy could just be what? Doing some stuff just for the sake of keeping busy, right? But what is productive? Anybody think about that? What is productive? What does it mean to be productive? I tell you, being productive is, I have 3 things I'm trying to accomplish. At the end of the day, 1 or 2, that's productive. But busy, I have 3 things I'm trying to accomplish today. At the end of the day, I didn't do any. I was putting out fires. I was answering phones. I was answering emails. But the task at hand, you know, unless my job entails that's what I do. You know, sometimes it's like that. That's part of my job on a day-to-day basis. That's different. So time management is about efficiency, efficient use of my time. And I'm a big believer that if we accomplish 2 or 3 things on our, you know, 1, 2, or 3 things on our list for the day, that's a productive day. That's a productive day. All right. So we don't need to look at that. So we need to, why is it important? You know, we live in an unpredictable world, but time, you know, organization is a key to making your work and life simple and less stressful. You know, we live in a time where there's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. And so when I manage my time, I'm able to manage some of that too. Because if there's something that has a tight deadline and we're pushing up on that deadline and I don't have it done, then that causes angst. You know, it really does. It causes angst. And we don't want that. Okay? We don't want that. So this little chart is busy. You know, there's a lot here. And don't get me wrong, these are not all etched in stone. You know what I mean? These aren't like they are all perfect because there's some time where there's certain things that we may do that seem not important and urgent, they may move up to the urgent category depending on what the needs are. So, but when you look at this, things that we need to manage, like crisis, important customer calls, things that need immediate attention, learn to focus, planning and finding new opportunities, personal growth, professional development, important and not urgent, but there's times where professional development may need to be urgent, important and urgent. So, you know, you put that over here. So it flip-flops with a lot of these, but what I realize is that a lot of times we spend a lot of time in this quadrant here. That's why I tell people it's not good to be on cell phones at work, because on the cell phones there's too much activity going on there. You know what I mean? And so I have mine here with me because I'm a business owner and I need it because there's times I may have to respond or we're working on projects or something's going on. A customer may need something, but they're going to get my attention a lot of times when I'm done doing doing what I'm doing with you all right now, training. I wouldn't want to answer and say, excuse me, I got to get off the phone, get off here and go work your customer. Now I got to talk to another customer. No, that's not how it works. I'm focusing my energy on you right now. All right. But in life, we do these time wasters. Now, don't get me wrong. There's sometimes in life, I'm not talking about with work, because at work, we got to kind of focus a lot of our energy up here. But it's sometimes in life, we need a little not important and not urgent. Okay? We just do. We need some time wasters. We need a little entertainment and mindless activities. When I get to the point where I'm exhausted, I've worked as hard as I can work, I'm all over this one right here. Give me some Netflix, give me some popcorn. That's all I want. I don't want to think. I don't want to be a critical thinker at that point. I hope y'all know you understand what I mean by that. There's times we just need that. So I don't want to make this look like we should always have this sense of anxiety to do this and do that. There's many times this is probably more helpful than up here because it's going to give you a chance to decompress, relax, take it easy. Like one thing I love about living in Florida, you can be having a rough day, and at the end of the day, our family has a family pass to all the parks. It's so cheap when you live here. It's like going to Hershey Park here. I might say, I'm going to Disney and I'm getting on the Buzz Lightyear ride. I'm going to get on It's a Small World after all, whatever. If you've ever been to Disney, you know what I'm talking about. I just want to go do something mindless. I don't even care. Had a stressful day. I'm just going to go do something fun. So you go over there, ride one ride and go home. The beauty of living in Florida. All right. So I don't want us to think that this is such a rigid thing that we don't understand that these things are okay too. All right. And so these are just certain things here when we talk about timeline. So these are just, like I said, none of this is etched in stone, but these are just some things to consider. Like I said, urgent, like for instance, relationship building is definitely should be over in the category of urgent, I would think. Exercise, urgent. I mean, these are things that flip-flop, they're important, but not urgent, not important, things like that. People say mindless TV watching. I always joke when I read that because sometimes it is very mindful. I know exactly what I'm watching, okay? And that's okay. Now, I will say one thing I'm a little leery of is too much surfing social media. I think that is, I don't know, I got my concerns about that, in particular with the next generation who do it so much. It's like, it's in their DNA now. I think it comes a point where you need to pull back and jump into reality. Like I see kids walking down the street, they won't even look at you because they're looking at their phones. Now as a kid, you said hi to people, hi, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so. So I'm a little bit concerned about too much of all that. So these are things to think about. We're not going to do this in a breakout right now. But what are some urgent, important activities that you have that are part of your day-to-day routine? And what is one non-urgent, important activity? So if you were to say what your top responsibility would be on a day-to-day basis, what would it be? I'm just curious. What is probably your top work responsibility? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you meant work or on a personal level.
On a work level. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this, Coach. I think, like in total, as a monitor, I'm always transparent about sharing information.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, maintaining a good collaborative relationship with my providers, and that's really an ongoing, like that's not like I do it in one day. It's over the last 6 years that I've been their monitor, I have really worked on building up trust with them, open communication, transparency. Hey, if I don't know something, that's a really great question. I will get back to you on that.
Gotcha.
So I think it's important because, you know, we're there to support them. You know, you guys do what you do best. I'm here if you need me. But it's also not for me to get overly involved with them either. It's a very fine line that you walk when you're a monitor, if you've never been one.
Yeah. I've never been a monitor, but I've had monitors. Because keep in mind, we ran WIA programs.
Right.
So there were
Back
monitors
then.
then. Yeah, we did monitors then. So I'm very familiar. And I can appreciate the fact that you interact with your contractors that way, because some of our monitors, it was a little bit rough.
Well, yeah, like for me, coach, my first thing is, you know, I'm not here, you're not getting your hand slapped.
Yeah.
It's actually good if I find something, because then we can work on it. And that way, especially if it's WIOA, if the state comes in, they're not going to slap your hand either, but we do the best we can to prepare you for when labor and industry is going to ask for your files. TANF, guys, look, we're going to get there. I've built up TANF to, they may not be coming in now, but we want to prepare for when they do, and it's okay. I'm working to dispel the myth of the monitor is somebody to be scared of, feared, your enemy, as it were. And maybe that's a little extreme, but
I'm laughing because we needed you training back when I was running WIA programs.
I wish I
those
could have.
monitors were all of that and more.
Yeah, like I can't tell you how many times I've heard the word, yeah, but if you give us a bad write-up, we won't get funding. No, it has to be more than that. Go ahead, Lucia. I know I've taken up. Go ahead, Lucia. I know she wants to add something.
It's okay.
A lot of it is what Tracy said too, like just developing that relationship, but also just getting as much knowledge as you can, because they're going to come to you with questions. You can't always say, well, I don't know, I have to get back to you. You want to try to learn as much as you can through, like, in between them asking questions. So it's an easy, like, well, here's this and here's this, and, you know, just getting as much information as you can and learning as much as you can. Because I know for my providers and human services, like, it constantly changes. Like every month is something different. So like constantly understanding what the changes are. So if your provider has questions, you can answer them as quickly as possible.
That's good. That's good. I needed folks like you guys when I was doing programs. I mean,
hey, we've had bad monitors, so we understand how to be good ones.
Oh my God. I mean, I would tell you something. We had this one guy, it was almost like our hearts were racing when he was coming. We knew he was coming. It was like, and we were one of the best programs. Our files were tight, our records were tight, but he just would always find something. Like he would always find something that we didn't think about. Like when we looked at everything 1,000 times, but the difference was, all right, and I don't want to go jump over there too deep, but the difference was you interact with your contractors. He didn't interact with us. He didn't interact with us. It was always just come in and look. It wasn't like you needed, he was just looking to find things to ding. That was it. So, and he would always make sure he found something. It could be as perfect as you thought you could possibly have it, but he would say something. So I applaud you for, taking the time to connect with folks, because that's huge. I'm just saying that as a former provider myself. So, but that's good. Thanks for sharing that with me, because that's, so that means that, when your day, when you're thinking about time management and priority management, that's a high, what I call a hypo. Like when I started teaching years ago on priority management, I talked about hypo, medpos, and lowpos. High priority items are those items that's going to, or objectives are those objectives that's going to have the most positive impact on my day from a work performance standpoint or a personal thing. Those are high priority, and these are things I need to do every day. The medium things are like, well, they're good, they're important, they're significant to some extent, but if I don't do it, I'll be okay. And in life, those low priority are always the same, what we see before, watching TV, doing things that are kind of unproductive, which I said, again, sometimes should be high priority depending on how we're managing things in a particular day, any given day. That could kind of flip-flop. So in knowing that, you can plan your day accordingly and make sure that those high priority things are getting taken care of. So time management barriers are, these are just, again, this is just general stuff here. You know, mindset, you know, I talk about that all the time. Procrastination, a team synergy is one, because, you know, there's certain expectations of my job that other people don't seem to understand that well. And then they may bring some things to the table that limits my ability to be effective in my job or even conflict with it. And then no effective system. Okay. And we need to have a system in order to do, you know, so no, we're not going to look at that. So just some considerations here. One is put a system in place. I like to-do lists. You know what I mean? I like to-do lists, because to-do lists are simple. Because you know why? You can just put it around and you can check it off. That's all. It's not hard. It's not difficult. Sometimes I have days are just simply to-do list days. These are 5 to-dos I got to do today. You know, I got to write 5 pages of my book. I got to make 15 calls to my customers just to check in. No particular rhyme or reason, just to check in. Things like that. You know, these are just things I got to, I don't know, do on a day-to-day basis. I'm just giving you ideas. This could be any given thing, you know. And know how you spend your time, all right? So you want to look at your, you know, and this is more on a personal level. What do I do with my days? You know, what do my days look like? You know, am I making time for me? Am I doing some self-care? Am I, you know, all the things we've talked about over the years, even in our trainings, all those. And then set personal goals. Now, that's what we're talking about is a system, but keep in mind, a goal is within a system. And I remember I've shared this quote many times: you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So the systems I put in place are important. Sort, declutter, and organize. You know, I'm working here in the conference room, but I don't like stuff everywhere. You know what I mean? Because stuff everywhere is clutter. And so when I work, I need to work in a neat space so that I can see things, and I can't understand it. And it's not a judgment on anyone. But when you see clutter everywhere in a person's office, like, I don't know, for me personally, I don't know how you can do that. Like, I can't work in that environment. You know, I need space. And so we want to organize, put things where they need to be. So when I need them, when I want
to make a change to another hour.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
So, Coach, like, I want to just share this story. So when we moved from community development to our office, so community development was 365. When we moved to our office in workforce development, so I needed a cart to get all my stuff over. The amount, so this is what will make you laugh. The amount of piles of folders, documents that I printed, that I saved, paper examples of stuff. I have so much stuff from, you know, even stuff that I brought with me from the Career Link. We were there. How long would she have community development? Like 3 or 4 years before we moved over. I had so much stuff. And one of my colleagues came over and said, "What the heck are you doing with all this?" And here's the point. Well, what if I need it? What if somebody asks me the question and I don't have that paper because I'm old school? Now, my husband, who's he works for Bentley Systems, and he said, "You do realize you can scan all that, Tracy, and make it a computer folder." So I went, wait a minute, like, no, because it's not that I don't want to, that is a foreign concept. So in time management, it's also, it's, yes, it's organization as part of it, but it's like this. I'm afraid if I don't have it in paper where I know I can easily somewhat access it, like, gosh forbid, 4 years from now, Lucia goes, "Hey, how about the regulations on this?" I'm using that as an example. That's why I can't get rid of it. Somebody's going to ask me.
Yeah.
But then again, somebody may not.
Yep. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I think sometimes it's styles too. You know what I mean? I think that's a styles thing. I think some people's styles are they're going to hold on to stuff because in their minds they think there's going to always be a need for it. And that's again, this is not a perfect science we're talking about. But, you know, but I like what your husband said too. You can file it. You know what I mean? And put it into a different like you can even on your computer, put it in different files and put the dates on them. So you can say, hey, I know that on this date, on this month, that's where that file is. I go get it, boom, it's done, it's easy. But like I said to you earlier, I still use this. I still use this because I don't like, I use this and I use a tool called Trello. We'll talk about Trello in just a few minutes, but most of my stuff on Trello, I put in for the week and I look at like once a day, but really I'm going here. So I'm like, I feel you on that. I like to see my stuff. You know what I mean? To know where I am. Like you all are in here for the time I have allotted. And then after we're done with you, I got to go do some stuff with, I just, it's all allotted and I can look on the page and see, okay, that's what I'm doing right now. Because the way my brain is wired, if not, like I said, something can come up and I'm off to the races, you know? So let's get ready to, I mentioned I wasn't going to keep you too long. So let me kind of get to some of these other things. You know, this another thing here is too, just to address interruptions, kind of be proactive with that. You know, like one thing I've learned, I've been married for 29 years and wives are y'all the best because you guys keep us on our toes. Where would we husbands be without wives? I tell you. But my wife, her style is that of an analytical. Now her personality is a driver. She just get to the point. Don't cut any corners. Honey, can we go on a date tomorrow? You can't tell me the day before. You should have told me this 2 weeks ago. Okay, that's just how she's wired. All right. And so what you realize is that with people, sometimes we need to figure out ways to address interruptions. Because the reality in life is sometimes they just gonna happen. You know, we're gonna get interruptions. And so it's always good. Like my kids, I have 4 beautiful kids, as you know, I've talked about them all the time. And this is what I tell them because dad's pretty busy. I said, but that's how we're able to do the things we do. That's how I'm going to pay for your college and all these things. I got to work, you know. My wife is not really, she has a job, but she's not necessarily contributing in that way. So I have the responsibility for my family and I got me and, you know, my 4 kids. And so, you know, I tell them during my days, you can text message me if you have any questions. Don't call unless it's urgent, but text message me. And when I have time, I will get back in touch with you. Now, if it's urgent, you call and then I'm going to respond because if you're calling me, that means it's important. But if it's not, just like dad got a question, boom, and I get back because you know what I want to do? It goes back to what I said about some of those family members and friends. I don't want to get on the phone for 45 minutes during a time when I'm supposed to be focusing on a particular outcome. You know, I'm an author and I'm writing 2 books right now and it takes time to write books. And so when I'm writing them, I have to stay focused. I can't be distracted because the thoughts are flowing, the ideas are rocking. I got to stay with it. So we got to find ways to address interruptions. And the way we do it is be proactive. Like I just said about my kids and my, you know, just text me and I promise you, I'll get back in touch with you if I'm not super busy. It may not be to the end of the day. But if it's urgent, you call. And there's only been about 4 or 5 times in years that I've ever gotten that call for something urgent. It wasn't as urgent as we thought it was, but it's urgent to them. And I respected that. All right. Then also I mentioned free technology. I use both of these. I manage projects through Asana. I do pay for Asana though, because you know I have a team of people and it helps me to manage the projects. And Trello, and they just recently changed the name. I can't remember, but if you do Trello, you'll find a new name. I think it starts with an A, something like that. But they're just time management tools. You can, like with Trello, you can put up your goals, your objectives, and you can monitor those things. You can even connect it to like your cell phone and have it ding your cell phone to take a look at it. I haven't done that yet. And but it really helps. And like I said, I take a lot of what's in Trello and put it in here because it's easier for me to manage it here than it is in Trello. Okay. And then Asana is just a way of project management. If you're working with someone and they have questions, you know, if they're not urgent, like put them right on up in Asana. And I do get dinged on my cell phone when the different tasks and responsibilities of maybe customers and all that. And so I can respond accordingly. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be that urgent. I need to drop everything and go after it. But it puts all of our conversations in a concise location, which is nice, versus trying to go through an email, put the person's name in and see what they said in the last email, which may have been 10 days ago. So Asana is a great tool to see exactly what's going on real time and address it accordingly. So and they're both free tools. So I would encourage you to consider that, So these are just some things. Practice discipline, time blocking. The Pomodoro technique is really good. For the next hour and a half, this is what I'm working on. Take your phone, set the timer, and don't get distracted. Just till I get that thing done, I'm not going to quit. You know what I mean? And so, and then you got the non-negotiable tasks. What tasks do you load doing? These are just things, we need to, like, the first one is really about the ones that's the biggest pain, how to overcome those. Some tasks are a little bit harder than others, but, just some things to consider there. But number 5 is the most important. All right. And so again, we're not talking about case management now, but it's important. And so what will we have time for? 115 days of laughter, 26 years worth of sleep. These are just some general things that's some statistics that are out there. In Florida, you get a whole lot of that. 26 years worth of sleep. I don't know if I do that because I'm a terrible sleeper. I got to do better at that. But we can laugh, and you want to laugh as much as you possibly can, because laughter releases a lot of positive endorphins in your body. We want that. So, and that's it, my friends. That is it. Promised you I wasn't going to keep you long. Any questions? Any questions? If not, thank you for your time. I hope it was helpful. Lucia, I'll get this over to you shortly. I got to make a quick run. It probably won't be till later today.
Okay.
Share with everyone. And Tracy, thank you for your input and your candor. I like that. I like you. I like how you're a person with candor. I don't mind that because I think it's fantastic. It keeps me on my toes. Your hubby has fun with you, don't he? He has fun. You let him. You tell him. You let him know, don't you? If you're trying to get a point across, like, dear, listen. Because
actually, but both of us are very much like that. Like,
yeah.
She just called me the other day and she was like hot on one of these topics and not about you, but it was like another work related thing. And then she went, "I am so sorry." I said, "No.
Yeah.
What you're doing is I share the frustration." Like she and I are just so direct with each other all the time. And I'm like that in general. I'm a very deep thinker. I think of how the pieces fit together, the foundations of what you're saying. And that's kind of where my mind was going. I'm like, no, we can't call this a broad statement. Like, I get it, but there's so much more to it.
Got you.
And that's, and maybe in the moment, it was feeling a little personal. So I thought, let me share that. And we can talk about it. Not that it's never a bad thing. So
that's the beauty of training. And if you do it the right way. Like I do, I'll say this, never let us go, but I do DEI training. Y'all know that. We talk about that. You want to talk about a topic that can bring some stuff to the table, do some DEI training. You'll see. But what I tell people at the beginning of those trainings is anything goes. We're just not going to disrespect each other, but anything goes. Anything except disrespect. I said, because there's people here who have certain levels of knowledge and people who don't. And so I don't want folks to be offended. You know what I mean? Like, that I can't ask my question. Because sometimes people sit in those trainings and think that they're going to, if they ask a particular question, they're going to be perceived a certain way. And I said, not in my training, you won't. I said, because unless you're able to ask that question, you're not free anyway. And this is about freedom for all of us. You know what I mean? So I encourage people to be real, but I just encourage people to be respectful. You know what I mean? It's okay. Just be respectful of each other, so, but, Anyway, thank you so much, everyone. This information again will be submitted to Lucia. She'll get it out, and
Absolutely.
forward to seeing you the next time, right before Thanksgiving, which I
Yep.
can't enjoy because I can't eat turkey on my new diet.
Oh,
Pray for me, y'all.
um,
Could you imagine me on Thanksgiving with lettuce and
no.
I may lose it that day. That day I may just have to dive in
It's
and
the only holiday where we're allowed to stuff
oh,
our faces.
oh my God. And listen,
It's not frowned upon.
actually,
yeah.
I might be okay because it's a 28-day. We're on day 9 now, so I might be okay.
You might be all right for it.
Yeah.
Hey, last night, Coach, I'm telling you, I gave in because it was Halloween. Let's see,
Yeah.
I had 3 small cookies, then I had a piece of coffee cake just because I felt like it.
Yeah.
And I had some chocolate, and I've been doing really well with losing weight. So I kind of thought like this. I'm like, look, it's one day. It's not like I'm doing this every day.
Yeah.
I am going to enjoy myself out here with these kids.
Yeah, you're going in.
I didn't care. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. Let me tell you
Yep.
something. Let me show you what I was last night. If you can see it, there I am.
You're a hot dog.
You're a hot dog.
I was the hot dog.
Oh,
Let me say this. That's
That's
the worst
fun.
thing I could be on this diet, right? I was ready to eat myself. And then you're right, Tracy. My daughter had a bag full of the one candy I love the most, and that's almond joy. I'm an almond joy
me
fanatic.
too. Yep, me too.
I'm a fanatic. And she had
I
the
love
nerve to
them.
have a whole bunch of them. I was like, oh my God. So anyway. So yeah.
My kryptonite is Reese's and peanut M&Ms. That's the nuts.
Oh my
That's my kryptonite
Oh.
with that.
Oh, I need to jump off this call. Yeah.
Alrighty. Have a good day.
No, it's
Thank
getting
you.
too- It's getting too tempting.
Okay. Thank you for
Good talking
everything.
to y'all. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.